What's going on, everybody? Thanks for watching again. Today we're driving a 1979 Ferrari 308 GTB. This car was lent to me to do a review by the owner, so thanks to the owner, and also thanks to Caribou Engineering. They're the guys who built it. You know, this is generally considered a carbed GTB from 77 to 79 is kind of considered pretty much the high point of 308s. To me, it's the pick, and that's reflected obviously in the values of these things. I mean, geez, this is not a cheap car. This one that I'm in right now is probably $100,000. So, I mean, you think about the other Ferraris that you could buy for that much money. You could get a high mile Testarossa, you could get a 348 for obviously well under $100,000. The 355 you can get for, you know, what, 80, 90. You can even get 360s. So what is it about the 308 GTB that makes them worth $100,000? You know, the 308 GT4, which had the same engine as this, was a 2+2 designed by Bertoni, and I love GT4s. I think they're great looking cars, but generally speaking, the Ferrari enthusiasts preferred the 308 GTS and GTB. So about a third, I think, of the production runs of 308s were GTBs, whereas the rest of them were GTSs, so it's definitely more rare. The GTS was more popular when the car was new, but it's the B, to me, the coupe version, you know, this is how the 308 was intended to be. I think that when Leonardo Fioravanti designed it when he was at Pininfarina, he was probably imagining a coupe. So this was basically, and you know, the car that replaced the Dino 246 GTS and GT. This is like the entry-level Ferrari. They came out with a V8, the Dino had a V6, and so it came out in 75. And, you know, just, it was beautiful when it came out, amazing proportions. You got these really amazing looking air intakes, and just a beautiful car overall. The first production year, they were fiberglass. They only made about 800 of those. Those are the most valuable 308s. Those are worth probably a couple $100,000, like $200,000, something like that. Then the next most desirable ones are like this one that I'm driving, which is a 308 GTB. This is 79. It's also a carbureted car, which makes it more desirable. I mean, you have this incredible gated shifter. You have to really think about this car when you drive it. You know, the steering is heavy, but once you get going, it lightens up a little bit. The angle of the steering wheel, at first you get in the car and it feels a little bit awkward, but once you're driving it, it actually feels pretty natural. Normally your hands would be at 3 and 9 o'clock for, you know, is the best kind of performance driving, but because of the angle, you end up kind of sliding your hands down occasionally down here to the bottom of the steering wheel. And, you know, this interior design, it's simple and it kind of swoops around you. You have the armrests on the doors that kind of come up to the dashboard. You have this really cool looking instrument binnacle that has all the instruments except for the oil temperature and the clock down here on the left, but you have all the instruments right in front of you. The windshield is a little bit close, but it's not too bad. I would say headroom wise, this car, I'm about the right size for it. I'm around 5'10", something like that. If you're much taller than me, it's a little cramped. So normally a stock 308 GTB 79 like this, a carbureted car, would have about 230 horsepower, something like that, about 200 foot-pounds of torque. This car has a built engine that Caribou built for it, and the owner wanted to keep it stock looking basically, so it has the carburetor still, so 4 downdraft carbs. It's a quad cam engine. Rebuilt it with high compression pistons, probably around 10.5 to 1, I want to say, something like that. They did a lot of head work, larger valves, porting and polishing. It has custom ground camshafts, so you know, it's a built engine that it also has a 2B exhaust, so it ended up producing about 272 horsepower at 7,600 RPM and about 210 foot-pounds of torque. So definitely a good solid 40 horsepower improvement. And this engine just, you know, I mean, yeah, it produces its peak horsepower up at, you know, 7,600, but it's very responsive throughout the entire rev range. And it kind of just from the mid-range on up to redline, it just pulls like a freight train. It's got a nice flat power band. Also has a lightened flywheel, so that helps obviously pick up revs. And you combine the lightened flywheel with the cams and the headwork and then the 2B exhaust that it has, and the engine is much more responsive than a stock 2.9 liter 308 would be. This car is also a little bit lighter. It has Euro bumpers on it, so it's probably about 200 pounds lighter than a US version, and it looks a lot better as well. This car also has a rear valence that was custom made for it that looks terrific. Normally the 308 muffler cover is kind of this weird looking, it's not a very attractive, it's painted black. This custom rear valence is absolutely perfect for the car. It looks great, really clean. So got rebuilt conies that have been converted to a threaded coilover, so it's been lowered a couple of inches, and it's normally in a 308 GTS or GTB, they kind of tend to pitch and squat, and they roll a lot in stock form. So they handle pretty good, but they don't feel that predictable. Like a GT4 with the longer wheelbase, those cars are a little bit more predictable and easier to drive fast. But this car with the modified suspension, it's really neutral. You know, it doesn't understeer too badly. I mean, in tighter turns, it does a little bit. And we're at a pretty high altitude, but this thing pulls really good. It just runs great. It kind of feels like a little rally car, the way it sounds and the way it feels, kind of burbles and backfires and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, it's like you got to experience it to understand it. And the brakes on this one are actually better than some other 308s that I've driven. They're pretty progressive, and they don't have they have a pretty good pedal feel. Sometimes I've noticed that in 308s the pedal feel gets a little bit wooden. Yeah, this thing is an absolute blast to drive. Like I said, the handling is just, oh man, it is a pretty huge improvement over a stock 308. I mean, this is how these cars should have been originally. Much easier to drive fast, and it's just a much quicker car in general. But man, this thing just, and you can really adjust it mid-corner. Engine just loves to rev. I mean, yeah, the light flywheel and the cams, and then of course the exhaust and the headwork and everything really just bring the engine to life. And because this has the stock displacement, it's a 2.9 liter, which is higher, compression ratio, and then all the internal work. I feel like I'm in some rally course in, Italy somewhere. Man. This engine, I tell you, man, the carburetor sound and then the tubey exhaust, it sounds corny, but it's like an Italian symphony. Yeah, this thing is really just a chassis. I mean, it has a pretty good mechanical grip, and it's neutral to just a little bit of oversteer. The lower center of gravity and the reduction in body roll makes all the difference. And then, of course, the extra 40 horsepower. The shifter is nice and light. And the suspension feel is really nice too. It has like this kind of nice little nuggety feel to it. These revalved conies are really nice. Yep. If I was going to get a 308, this is the one I would get. Well, you guys, thanks again for watching, and we will see you on the next video. And if you like what you're watching, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button, and we will catch you later.